What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on Yahoo with a 10-team half PPR mock where we'll be selecting from the 10th overall position. So final picks should be pretty interesting. And as you can see, we've only got a little bit more until this thing kicks off. And while we wait, a quick reminder, if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's dive into this thing. And for the most part, we have got a full lobby. So, I think we're going to see a pretty accurate representation of what we might come to expect in August, September. At least that's what I'm hoping for. The first two picks definitely reflect that. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, running back heavy as you would expect. Now I will say, we do these mocks on Fantasy Pros, on ESPN, on Yahoo, and every platform has different rankings. That's why I always enjoy switching things up and seeing what we might come to expect from an ESPN to, platform X to platform Y. But I think right now, so far so good. In some other platforms, we might see wide receivers being ranked as like the top player, which I disagree with. Again, this is half PPR, so the receptions are devalued a little bit. McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson is the 1 and 2. Makes a lot of sense to me. Then Justin Jefferson, then Jamar Chase. But I'm going to quickly make a selection here for us because we are on the clock. And the question is, what do we want to do? Do we want to go running back? Do we want to go with a stud wide receiver? So what I'm thinking right now is I'm going to make one of our selections is going to be Nick Chubb. And then I'm leaning towards, I really like Tony Pollard at this value. I know we're going to be passing up on Cooper Kupp, which is, a big thing, but let's see how this kind of, I guess, comes together if we do end up going running back. So that's what I'm going to do here. Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, two running backs that I really do like for this 2023 fantasy football season. Half PPR. I know Nick Chubb isn't a huge pass catcher, but he should have more opportunities from top to bottom without Kareem Hunt there. And then Tony Pollard, obviously without Ezekiel Elliott, is also in a good situation. But let's look at the draft results right now. As we were in the middle of doing before we were on the clock. So the first two picks were McCaffrey, Bijan, okay. Then Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I wouldn't be selecting Jamar Chase that early. I like an Austin Eckler. I don't mind a Jonathan Taylor either. Then you see Travis Kelce. So there's always going to be somebody that values the stud tight end very highly. That's what happened here. Then Jonathan Taylor, great value with the 7th overall pick. Then Tyreek Hill. Personally, I would have taken Cooper Kupp ahead of Tyreek Hill, Saquon Barkley, and then you see our selections, Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard. Really like how that turned out for us, but again, it's all going to depend on what players are there in the 3rd, 4th round. And speaking of the latter rounds, so far in the 2nd round after our Tony Pollard pick, we have Josh Jacobs, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp, tremendous value on Cooper Kupp at almost the middle point of the 2nd round. Then Patrick Mahomes is paired with Travis Kelce, so you've got the Casey stack, but that's an awful reach on the quarterback there. I really, really don't like that. Then Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, so some really good value right there with Devontae Adams, depending on what happens with Jimmy Garoppolo and that whole situation. One of the reasons why I wasn't necessarily considering him. So right now I'm kind of hoping we continue to see a run on the running backs, maybe a tight end here or there. Somebody reaches for that, and we might get a decent wide receiver come to us. But let's see. Derrick Henry and Najee Harris were the last two picks. Then now in the 3rd round, Garrett Wilson and Jalen Waddle. Some of those wide receivers are being selected. There goes Breece Hall. Nothing super surprising. Ramondre Stevenson is also still there. So he's a guy that's ranked, I would say, kind of lower on Yahoo than I expected, and as opposed to some other websites. I'm going to tell you right now, I know we've gone 2 running backs to kick this thing off, but if Ramondre Stevenson is there, I will be selecting him as our flex player. I'm going to be going real running back heavy. So we kind of get lucky here. Josh Allen is a 3rd round selection. Again, and I will say this, I know that in these smaller leagues, like 10-team leagues as opposed to the 12-team leagues, it's important to get those positional advantages. Agreed. But going quarterback in the 2nd round, I think that's a little bit too much. So that's just my 2 cents. In the 3rd round, I guess you get Josh Allen, but I'd still wait a little bit later. Now, this is kind of broken in a tough way for us because a lot of the wide receivers that I was looking at, Amon-Ra, Chris Olave, are picked. Ramondre Stevenson is selected. So our dream to kind of get the guys that I was targeting, well, not so much. But Kenneth Walker still available. I think he's a decent value. I know the Seahawks added a obviously help at the running back position in the draft, but I'm not convinced that he's going to absolutely take over. So right now we're in a intriguing situation. What do we do? I think we can go potentially with a Keenan Allen here. So he's going to be one of our selections. As long as he can stay healthy, I think in PPR leagues, he does return decent value. And then the question is, do we want to go that Kenneth Walker? Do we want to go another running back? Or do we just want to load up on some wide receivers? And I think we can go wide receiver here. I don't mind Devonta Smith. I think it's a bit of a reach, but I know he's not going to make it back to us afterwards. He's in a high-powered offense, so I do like that. The other guys that I was considering was Kenneth Walker. Tight end, I didn't want to take a tight end that early unless it's Travis Kelce, but obviously him being available in the 3rd, 4th round, forget about it. Mark Andrews, I'm not the biggest fan. TJ Hawkinson, I think, is a little bit overrated this year. Going to lose some targets to Jordan Addison. At quarterback, I mean, we could have gotten a Jalen Hurts or, one of these top quarterbacks, but I would rather wait. I think we can still get maybe a Justin Herbert in round 5, but we will see. That's kind of to be determined. So right now, kind of looking back at it, probably, I would have been a little bit happier with the squad because I want to be fully transparent with you guys, right? That's the whole point of all these mock drafts that we do. If we went running back and wide receiver, so if we went like Tony Pollard and then Cooper Kupp or Nick Chubb and Cooper Kupp in the first 2 rounds, because we would have been in a situation where we can land then Kenneth Walker in the 3rd round and then still get Keenan Allen. So I just think that combo of, let's say, Nick Chubb plus Kenneth Walker and then at wide receiver Keenan Allen and Cooper Kupp is a little bit better than the current foursome that we have of Keenan Allen, Devonta Smith, Nick Chubb, and Tony Pollard. But let's see. Maybe we can kind of round this out in a very strong way in the next couple of rounds. We'll see. But, I am kicking myself a little bit because a lot of those players that I was hoping in the 3rd round might fall to us don't necessarily. And that's always going to be the toughest thing with these selections where you're at the extremes, whether 1st overall, last overall, those quality, great value players, there's going to be big runs. Because, essentially we're waiting 20 selections until we make another pick. And, it's evident. A lot of that value, like I mentioned before in the 3rd round, the Amon-Ra's, the Jalen Waddles, the Chris Olaves, the Ramondre Stevensons, if we were picking just 2 picks earlier, we would have been able to get Ramondre. So that's why it's a little bit tough here selecting so late, but it's always a good exercise. It really makes you kind of put your evaluation hat on and do your best job. In this 4th round so far, well, actually, let's also look at the 5th round as well. But in the 4th round, after our Devonta Smith selection, Kenneth Walker was a good value. J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Hurts. So top quarterback in Jalen Hurts goes. Then Cam Akers, Mark Andrews, Jahmyr Gibbs. T.J. Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, and Alvin Kamara. Super early in Alvin Kamara, especially since he could be serving a suspension. That's just my 2 cents on it, though. Let's see what we have here at wide receiver. At running back, at wide receiver, Calvin Ridley is still there. I think Calvin Ridley is a decent value. Personally, I'm a believer that he's going to bounce back. And if you believe in Trevor Lawrence, then I think, again, you should feel pretty good about Calvin Ridley. So he was one of our selections. Now, at running back, let's see what we have here. Dameon Pierce, not super high on, but Joe Mixon is still there. And I think Mixon is a guy that has his ADP skyrocketing. Kind of, I kind of honestly forgot about him. I'm going to be completely transparent about you because he was so low on the rankings here on Yahoo. But right now it's trending towards him being okay for the season in terms of like legal concerns, in terms of sticking around with the Bengals. And if he is, he's a top 10, top 15 running back on a great offense. He's going to have a lot of opportunities. So I really like that Joe Mixon value pick. We've done mocks where whether it's ESPN or Fantasy Pros, he gets selected like in the third round or end of the second round. So great value for Joe Mixon there. I like that. Makes me feel a little bit better, right? But let's go back to this fourth round. I was speaking on Alvin Kamara. I think that's way too early for Alvin Kamara at the end of the fourth round, considering he might be facing a suspension. And then also the additions that the Saints have made at the running back position. Like, I would much rather have picked Miles Sanders or Joe Mixon, maybe even Dameon Pierce ahead of him. He is a guy that is, a luxury pick. Let's just put it that way. You take a chance in him after you've already solidified your running back position and other positions as well. Then in the fifth round, Debo, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore. So yeah, those wide receivers that were still left, those good values are being scooped up. Miles Sanders, Tyler Lockett, George Kittle, Drake London, Lamar Jackson. So we could have taken a quarterback for what it's worth. We could have gotten a Burrow, a Fields, a Justin Herbert, and get that positional advantage at quarterback. But I wanted to get some more depth at wide receiver and running back, like I alluded to before. I think we could have done a little bit of a better job in the second round. So I wanted to ensure myself at both positions a little bit more so. So that's the logic that dictated my selections there. So I think we'll still have a decent shot. I'm assuming we're going to see a little bit of a tight end run here because I don't know how you select Pat Freiermuth over, I feel like I don't want to jinx it, but Kyle Pitts and Dallas Goedert because, with Freiermuth, there goes Dallas Goedert again. I don't want to say I jinxed it, but I fully expect Kyle Pitts to not be there when we're selecting. I don't know how you bank on that Pittsburgh offense with their current situation and Kenny Pickett over a Dallas Goedert or Kyle Pitts. I just really, really don't believe in Kenny Pickett, but that's just me. In the sixth round, after we went our Joe Mixon selection, we see DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not going to be drafting DeAndre Hopkins while he's a free agent, and especially since it's trending that he ends up either in Tennessee or New England. Awful landing spots. Then we saw some quarterbacks here: Justin Fields, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. That makes sense, and I would much rather have those quarterbacks as opposed to spending a fourth, third, or second round pick on Mahomes, Josh Allen, and or Jalen Hurts. There goes Kyle Pitts. There goes Evan Ingram. I told you that would happen. Yeah, we kind of jinxed ourselves, but oh well, it happens, right? So I'm looking at some of these other selections. Again, quarterback, let's see what's left. Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson. I'm going to continue to wait on quarterback. Tight end, Darren Waller, David Njoku. I think Darren Waller could sneakily, lead the Giants in targets. So let's get a potential difference maker here in Darren Waller. And then there's a lot of later round tight ends that I also really like. But I wanted to get a potential high upside tight end. And to me, Waller was the highest upside guy that was still left. Now here, do we go running back? Do we go wide receiver? I'm going to go with the wide receiver. I think that Marquise Brown is going to see a lot of volume in Arizona without DeAndre Hopkins. Now, there are some reports that he's a little bit banged up right now, so that's obviously something that you monitor. The other options that I had on my list were Michael Pittman and Mike Williams, just to be, again, fully transparent. And then running back, I'm not going to lie to you guys, James Conner was still there. Very, very tempting. So was Rashad White. But I wanted to get one of our tight ends. If one of these guys drops to us, then great. Alexander Madison also still there. So some of these, lower tiered but still starting running backs are really, really under kind of valued on Yahoo. So keep that in mind. We've gotten to the point also, for what it's worth, where we're seeing defenses being selected, so some auto drafts. So we're not going to keep this going for too much longer, right? I do want to get a quarterback, and then I just want to basically make 2 more selections, and then we can kind of wrap this thing up. But our starting roster has taken form, and it is as follows. Let's kind of break it down. Keenan Allen, Devonta Smith, a wide receiver. I know there are some, concerns there with maybe injuries, with age, with Keenan Allen. So that's why we got a Calvin Ridley. That's why we got a Marquise Brown for some depth. Then running back Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, and Joe Mixon chilling on our bench. I really, really like that situation. I think our trio of running backs is very, very strong. Alexander Madison just got selected. Great value there in the 8th round. And then we got Darren Waller in the 7th round. I think he was kind of that last highest tiered tight end. You could argue that we didn't need to select a tight end because it's a 10-team league and pretty much already everyone has one. I think everyone with the exception of one team. So that was kind of my main thing there. This person right here didn't want to necessarily get sniped, but oh well. If it wasn't Darren Waller, we could have selected probably, one of those running backs that I had mentioned, either James Conner or Rashad White. I think that at this point, them going in the 9th round is just highway robbery. And let's see. I really doubt they make it back to us, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. Let's see if this individual here finally takes a tight end. But, when the top tight ends are gone, I feel like you don't have to force it. Unless you just become really, really desperate, or you're a lot higher on somebody than consensus. But we basically have just, 8 more picks until we make our last couple of selections. I'm thinking of which way I want to go. I'm going to select one quarterback. It'll either be Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson. I think we can do well with either one. And then, there goes Deshaun Watson. So I guess it won't be Deshaun Watson. Hopefully Dak Prescott. If not, there's other choices as well. So other than that, Rashad White, James Conner continue to scream value. Let's see other values at wide receiver. I think that, Christian Kirk, not a bad value. Jahan Dotson, not a bad value. Brandon Cooks, the number 2 in Dallas, also intriguing. Tight end. Hasn't really been a tight end run since we went with Darren Waller. Now, a couple auto picks here. They could probably screw up our plans. I'm guessing they might go James Conner and Rashad White. But who knows? Anything is possible. We just have to survive 3 picks. I think one of our picks is for sure going to be Dak Prescott if he's there. And then that way we get a nice little stack with Tony Pollard and Dak Prescott. That's always my preferred stack, going running back and quarterback. As opposed to quarterback and wide receiver, because I think going the running back and quarterback route kind of really ensures that you're always going to be capitalizing on the touchdowns, at least on paper. So two more selections here: Christian Kirk, Daniel Carlson. So we get our wish. Again, the one thing I want to point out is we did get to the point where there was auto picks and kickers and defenses were being selected. So we probably got lucky. Some of these guys fell to us. But, we're not going to apologize for that. I just want to, point that out. James Conner here is a guy that I do like, but I've already got Marquise Brown. So let's go with Rashad White, the top guy in Tampa without Leonard Fournette. So that's not a bad selection either. But with that, we kind of wrap this thing up. We got the majority of our roster. I'm happy with how we were able to turn it around. I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little bit nervous after the first couple of rounds. I think overall, you get a B- type of grade, maybe C+. There's some higher risk guys on this team, with Marquise Brown, Keenan Allen, Ridley, Mixon, but Talent is for sure there, high upside type of roster. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? I'll do my best to answer them all. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin to continue interacting with us there. In the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.